Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one drink that we rule them all. Hope you remember your thoughts. Get your Uru hammers and your Middle Earth guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy,
Hi, I'm Alex.
and this is Geek Tank.
your four-quart size podcast.
So today, we are not sure what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, there was a story, but it's still kind of in its infancy, which
Yeah.
means, although it would be cool to cover, I'd kind of like to get more information on it. And
agree.
that's there's a lot going around about the possibility of the next Harry Potter video game being ripe with anti-Semitism. So,
But it's very hard to find facts on that one. So
yeah, this is all based off of like 14 or 20 minutes of a video game gameplay review that
Footage.
that the game people released.
Yeah.
So nobody's played the game in public yet. And this is just based off of the taglines and the plot lines and what's been written out. So I could say now with what's out there, it doesn't look good. So I understand why people are upset. So we'll see if they cancel releasing the game or if it's released and it was just all a big misunderstanding. But,
Right.
So yeah, and we've talked about cancel culture and all of that quite a bit. So it's still, I think, kind of fresh to go into that again. So what other things are happening? I'm guessing neither of you have watched the new Moon Knight episode yet. Show.
No.
They only have one episode out so far, Disney Plus, since they own Marvel. Moon Knight's a character that I knew a bit about, but not like a ton, because back in high school I had a friend who really was into Moon Knight, and that was when I was running role-playing game kind of stuff, and I was experimenting with genres, not just Dungeons and Dragons. So I was running a superhero type game, and he wanted to be Moon Knight, so we worked up Moon Knight in the GURPS system. So I knew a bit about him in that aspect, but not nearly as much as all the people who follow the comics religiously do.
Can you tell us a little bit about who Moon Knight is?
Yeah, well, I could tell you who the comic book Moon Knight is, and I could tell you who the TV show Moon Knight is, and at the moment they might not be the same. Without any spoilers from the comic book aspect, Moon Knight actually has there's how to put it, was a American mercenary type soldier character who ended up becoming the champion of the Fist of the Moon God of Egypt, Moon Knight. I'm forgetting the name, the actual Egyptian name for it. But this character also suffers from dissociative identity. What's it called? DAD or DID? I think it's DID. DID syndrome.
Dissociated
disorder. So he has multiple personality kind of stuff. Yeah. And so there's like at least 3 other identities that he goes by, or 2 other identities he goes by, but he also has this power of the Moon Knight. In the TV show so far, it seems like they may be making them different people, but it's still, I'm not convinced that they're different people. I think they just might be using kind of a creative way to set up
to do the different personalities,
right? So Fight Club-esque. So
that makes sense.
But it is this is just a hunch. I don't have enough of one episode to go off of it.
Right. We just know a little bit of what's going on so far.
Yeah, I could say I felt the rhythm of the humor in it was really well done. Which some Marvel films are like that. They just, when they're funny, they're really funny.
Yeah, they're really on. That's something I've noticed distinguishes Marvel from DC in a lot of ways in their movies. Is that when DC tries to do humor, it comes off flat and weird. When Marvel tries to do humor, it seems to come out really natural and ordinary. And I don't know.
There's a self-deprecation in Marvel humor,
Right.
especially if you look at like
Self-awareness of some
Ant-Man, self-awareness and characters making fun of themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas all the DC humor I can think of all comes from a snarky, punching down kind of humor to other characters within it.
Right. Batman insulting Joker or whatever,
or it's a brief, like the one joke where Flash asks Batman, "What's your superpower?" and he says, "I'm rich."
Right.
It's like it's sort of clever, but
is it really?
It's better than bad.
Right.
I don't have my comments open, so I'm not seeing.
I see no comments.
Yeah. Okay.
We may or may not be. I see we have one viewer, but we may or may not be alive. We don't know.
Yeah. Every now and then it blows up. But in any case, there's only one episode, and I thought it was, I think it helps me not knowing a ton about Moon Knight, but knowing just enough that it drew me, like, I want to watch it because I do know something about it. Hey, there he is.
There. Good work.
Sweet. Yeah, so occasionally it'll decide not to do that. This time it has...
And we are live. Like they all came at once.
Yeah. And I'm almost done with the Book of Boba Fett. I have one episode left.
I haven't watched it yet.
Did you watch all of The Mandalorian?
Or
yes, I've watched all of Mandalorian.
Okay. I could say that without giving spoilers away to people who haven't seen neither. I can phrase it.
Helmets.
I can phrase it in this way: the anti-aging CGI improves, and it was just super. I don't know. It's nostalgic to me. It actually, for no reason other than it was really cool to see such an awesome anti-aging CGI thing. It made me a little misty-eyed, even though the scene itself is not scripted that way. It's just because the height of 4, 5, and 6 was, of course, when I was introduced to the Star Wars world, as all of us as a kid, and so it means a lot. Those characters from those films.
Plethora.
So that leads me. So yeah, I guess, and one of my kiddos is excited because I should say lukewarm excited about Sonic Part 2, the movie. He really likes the character Sonic and the video games, but the movies he has kind of a love-hate relationship. He's happy they made Sonic movies, but he kind of hates that they're not doing a better job with them.
Mm-hmm.
That from a 12-year-old.
Like my kid's sort of doing something similar. Like, I can't believe that they made. He actually said something like, "I can't believe they made another one," and I'm like, "Have you seen the first one?" No. Oh, okay.
So we
like just wants to make a point, just wants to make a statement. Doesn't know why, but just making a statement. So there's that.
Yeah, my daughter and I we were watching Sailor Moon, and we were at where the Dark Moon people are like kidnapping the other Sailor Senshi, and she's almost 9, and she was going. I think Troy's frozen. But she was going, why are you not fighting back? Why are you not attacking that guy who's kidnapping them? Why? Yeah. And then after a couple episodes of that, like, Sailor Moon is no longer on the menu of things for us to watch. I was like, you want to watch Sailor Moon or this or that? She's like, no more Sailor Moon. I'm like, okay. Respect that.
He got booted completely.
Well, he just sent me a text. I guess he got booted. That's right. It's our show now.
We have control now.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny.
That is pretty funny. I feel like sometimes those shows are, like Sailor Moon and various shows like that have different kinds of, I don't know. It has a different expectation, I think, is where I'm headed.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of like watching, oh, come on. Like rubber creature Godzilla movies from 1950, right?
Right.
Come on, let him in.
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's like, Sailor Moon failed to hold my 9-year-old's interest. Of course,
I think our
my 9-year-old
9-year-olds
has
are a
grown
little bit
up
more sophisticated
watching.
now.
Yeah, we've been watching things like the She-Ra remake and the
Mhm.
Voltron remake and Last Airbender and Legend of Korra and Carmen Sandiego. Shows that generally make sense. Even if you don't agree
Right.
with like decisions made or anything, you're like, okay, well, you can see where they come to that decision and the repercussions of said decisions and such. And just like the constant, oh, we're gonna kidnap another Sailor Senshi now. And she's like, that's dumb. You're dumb.
Right. I'm over it. Are you over it? I'm over it.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think my router blew up for a moment.
I think so too. Somebody was making popcorn.
It could be. That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There once was a time where
there once was a
people made
time where
popcorn at your
dinosaurs made
house, and
popcorn.
that pretty much like screwed everything up.
Yeah, the microwaves in the air. Go figure. Or maybe it's a drain on the power.
Yeah, maybe.
Beats me. I just know that when you're watching Netflix or something and somebody microwaves at my house, Netflix will disconnect.
There is this is less and less common, but I think you've got a new microwave in there. Most microwaves are shielded now, but back in the old days, microwaves would absolutely cut wireless Wi-Fi signals. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there was something.
Well, we don't buy expensive microwaves, so even if it is newer, it might still not have enough shielding. I just need to wrap it in aluminum, put a tinfoil hat on it.
Aluminium.
So, yeah, I haven't watched all of Avatar or Korra, but I've seen enough that I enjoy it. It's just one of those shows that I want to watch all of, but there's so many of those. I have to keep making choices as what I'm going to watch, and stupid media keeps making more stuff.
Yeah, if you keep on watching stuff that you like, cool. But remember, if you're watching something that's not hitting for you, just stop. Just stop.
Right. Yeah.
Just give yourself permission to not feel bad about not finishing that book, show, movie, video game. There's no need.
There's some shows that they skirt that edge of like, I think I like it just enough, I'm going to give it another episode, and then it keeps like just that little bit there.
Oh yeah. I watch Riverdale, and it's the kind of show that I have to watch and I don't binge it. I watch like an episode, maybe two every night, usually like one episode every other night. And even so, even at that compressed ratio, I'm like 4 episodes at a time. I'm like, yeah, this has gotten too stupid. See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, at the moment, Epic CPIX has a show that you can watch for free on their website, which normally you have to subscribe to them, like Showtime and other stuff. And I've been watching it, and it's one of those that I know guys should never watch it because there's jump scares in it, and it's not good enough for me to memorize all the jump scares to watch it with Guy and warn him where they are. But
Right.
it is good enough that it's pulled me in, and there's some characters I like. And I want to steal the plot for a D&D game, but I need to demodernize it because it takes place in modern day.
You're not going to have the characters just...
No, because the modern day aspect of it so far has only affected one of the clues as to what's going on. And so there's enough of it that I could see it taking place in any point in time. So it could be an 1800 story. It could be a medieval story. So...
Well, darn it. I was looking forward to finding punk rock pictures of my character to...
No Cyberpunk or Shadowrun.
Fine.
Cyberrun or Shadowpunk. So
yeah, I haven't watched Suits. Brent mentioned that he's watching a show and feels that way about Suits.
Yeah. I've never seen Suits either, but I concur. I understand. I'm there.
I don't know anything about Suits.
I did the stupid thing and just typed in Suits, so it's showing me all these suits. Okay, it's a USA show. Gotcha. Let's see. So that's the media stuff. We're avoiding that topic. I'm trying to think of what other geekdom topics is current in the news, and other than that, I haven't seen anything specific. I will say, and I posted this on Facebook. If you use Roll20 for playing games, you for the rest of April you can get the Lost Mines of Fendelver module on Roll20, like all the maps and all the little character sheets and everything that's are specific to that. And I'm assuming the actual module somewhere accessible through it. I didn't look for that part because I actually have it. But yeah, Roll20 is free to use, and if you play D&D and want to play online, I recommend doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was
Sprint
going to
system
ask you
shows
though
you can
about
binge
that module.
watch.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and like my wife and I actually we stopped binge watching shows because we found we didn't like them as much. I think probably the last one we binged was like Daredevil season 3 or 2. One of like 2 or 3. Like we actually wound up like watching like 4 or 5 episodes a night, cracked it out in like a week, and we're like, huh. Talk about it. I think we would have liked that better if we hadn't binged it.
Right.
So
So that's actually kind of an interesting pivot point there, binge watching, because like if you look at Discovery and the Star Trek shows, the new ones, Discovery and Picard, are very much designed for binge watching. And
But yet they release them one a week.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the point is though that they were designed for they built off of the fact that DS9 is generally considered to be better if you binge watch it. And so the idea is that you can binge watch DS9 and it is a better show in theory. And so they've been building Picard and Discovery off of that plan, but now Strange New Worlds is coming out and that's going to be episodic, which is interesting. So I'm noticing though, I'm wondering if this is I guess what I'm trying to head for is streaming is changing the nature of the beast. I feel, you know what I mean? I feel like streaming is changing the way that we do television shows and things like that now, because we have this concept of being able to put out a 10-hour long episode. Which is effectively what Picard season 1 is.
I think several years back when Netflix had started its streaming services, they very quickly picked up on that, that there was a market for sticking all the episodes out at once, and people were watching them in chunks as opposed to just watching one and then going away for a day or two or a week and then coming back and watching another one. And so now, what would it be? I guess 4 or 5 years with Paramount Plus. And I'm sure a few other places probably started doing you get one episode, even though we could give you all of them, we're not going to do it because we're wise to you.
They want you to stay. I mean, like Paramount Plus doesn't want you to give up their streaming service naturally. So
the next step they need to do is figure out how to do a thing where if you leave their service and come back, they charge you more. Because just because they're doing one a week doesn't prevent you from dropping their service for a couple of months, come back when they're all finally released. You have to really hook into the person like yourself who can't go a month without watching a new Star Trek, knowing that there's a new Star Trek out there.
Yeah, they're banking heavily on Trekkies being Trekkies. Mm-hmm. They're banking.
Yes, you're what is known as the market.
Mm-hmm.
We are the market.
But yeah, there's I think the longer the series, of course, the harder it is to binge it. But I remember going back and watching How I Met Your Mother, and it started off watching it simply because I wanted to study a character to base my character in a role-playing game off of them. So I'd only intended to watch like maybe 3 or 5 of them because I figured that'd be enough to get the flavor of the character. It turned out not to be that bad of a show.
No, it's actually really good. We, my wife and I watched the whole series. Yeah,
and I managed to salvage it for myself because right as I was starting, it was like right around when it ended, and there were a bunch of fans who were like, "I hated how it ended," and so I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got you on this." So then I immediately jumped to the very last episode and watched it without having all the buildup, and it wasn't a bad episode to me because I didn't have 5 or 8 or whatever seasons it was leading up to the end that it gave me. And then it made it that much cooler going back and watching it, picking up where I left off, because I know how it ends, so I can look for any clues where they were setting that up. And by binging it a few episodes to 5 episodes at a time, I could see the consistencies and the callbacks without having enough time between them to forget the callbacks. And more and more shows are doing better things like that, where something set up in episode 1 pays off in episode 5, and because they know that your time between the episodes is less.
Yeah, Arrested Development was one of those that got a second life, being on Netflix and streaming, and people watching and rewatching and binging it. So, yeah. Brent says, did not like the spin-off How I Met Your Father. I've seen neither of these shows. I'm like,
great name for a Star Wars show, though.
Would actually be kind of fun. How I Met Your Father. Oh man. So yeah,
for Guy, besides Star Trek, what would be the best binging series that you could think of that you would recommend? Because for me, because there's, I think, only 2.5, 3 seasons at most, is Legion, which is in the Marvel universe, because it's short enough you can get through it and not feel like you had to slog, and because it's one long story, I really liked it.
Yeah, the one that I really think is amazingly cool to binge was For All Mankind. That one was very good to binge, and needed to be, because there were a lot of episodes that were either not necessarily cliffhangers per se, but tied to one another really closely. So you kind of, I guess you could call them cliffhangers, but they would build to a point, and then they would have to go to the next episode. And though that wasn't sticking you there, it did feel kind of like, gosh, I really just kind of want to know how that resolved. So there was a lot of there were a lot of legit cliffhangers in it. But then there were a lot of, we've been working on this relationship between these two characters for 20 episodes, and I know that something's going to happen between these two in the next 2 episodes or so. Let's just watch those, sort of thing. So I did kind of have that feeling a lot with that one. So
what about you, Alex?
So I don't really binge shows anymore.
But back when you did binge shows, which one sticks out as being a good binge?
I'm trying to think of Arrested Development was really good. Let me see. Honestly, I guess like shows I've really liked recently would be like I really love the Netflix Castlevania show, and not just because I'm a Castlevania fan. I think it's actually really well put together. And the second season, it says season 1 was a test season anyway. It's not really season 1. It's like act 1, and then season 2 is acts 2 and 3. I thought that was really good, and I've rewatched that a few times. Excuse me. And then
I'm hoping, by the way, that may have gotten rid of any echoes. So I don't think you had any echoes, but just in case.
Yeah. So
sorry, sorry, Alex. I was just explaining why I'm over here clicking and typing things. I was just going into OBS.
I didn't hear anything until you announced it.
I understand. Guy wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
So, I just need to be the center of attention, please.
Yeah, I started Castlevania and I liked what I saw of it. So it's
I think it's quite good, and I like how. If you look at the original, what are they called? Like people say protagonist today, and they mean.
Oh, he's cutting out. You locked up, Alex. I don't know if you can hear us or not.
We're losing him. Yeah.
He may or may not be able to spot. I know it's not me this time.
It's definitely me. I'm locked.
Yeah. Couldn't you lock with your face not on screen?
No.
So yeah, well, I will continue, and we can come back to what he was going to say about protagonists when he gets back. assuming he notices that he's locked up at some point. I was trying to think of the name of the shows, and I can't remember. There were a couple, and I want to say I think maybe some of them were the Marvel series when they were on Netflix, like The Punisher and Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I might be thinking of those, or I might be thinking of Umbrella Academy, but I remember there was a series that would always end on a cliffhanger. But if you just watch the first 10 minutes of the next show, they resolve that cliffhanger. So the trick was to always end 10 minutes in of the show and not go to the end of it. Otherwise, you get stuck with that cliffhanger. But some shows were picking up on the, how do we get people to binge watch our shows? Oh, end on a cliffhanger every time. And then once they start the next episode, they won't stop.
Right. Well, I don't remember. I know what kind of what we're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what show it was, but I remember there was one that just really was really difficult to not start the next episode because it had such a good cliffhanger at the end of it, each one. And then and not that the audience needs to know or care anything about this, but we made it up to episode 4 of season 2 of Umbrella Academy without you. So I don't know how many episodes you were into it. If you're at 4, you're good.
I was at 3, so yeah,
you should watch one more.
All I need to do is just watch one more.
I believe so.
So Brent is suggesting
B5,
Babylon 5.
Hey,
you can let him in.
I will.
I keep clicking buttons and stuff.
Hey there. Not sure when you noticed that you went out. But you were saying like some shows, the protagonist is where you.
Oh yeah. So like in the modern day, people say protagonist, they mean like the main character. That's not what protagonist means in the classical sense. Protagonist is the character that makes things happen.
Right.
And the antagonist is those who react to the protagonist. So generally in these days, the villains are the protagonist. They're making shit happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, poop. They're making poop happen.
Poop.
But
Poop's
so
happening.
like Castlevania really leans into Dracula's actually the protagonist. He's the main character. Like he's not the first character you see. He's the second character you see in the show in the first episode, and it's great.
That's a really
fantastic.
Interesting way of looking at things, because the current role-playing game you're in that I'm running, that's a good way to look at it, because you guys by that definition, you guys aren't the protagonist. You're reacting to everything that's going on around you.
Yes.
And you're going to have to get higher level to be the ones making other people react to what you're doing.
That's right. That's my character's goal.
Yes.
It's like when you put out the questionnaire, I'm like, my character wants to amass enough power and influence to do whatever the hell they want, to not be interfered with.
It's the American dream.
The American dream.
It's the Faerun dream.
Yeah. No, so I really think Castlevania is really good. The episodes are short. By all means, watch a few, set it down, watch a few more. Season 3 is even though it's different, it takes place right on the heels of season 2, and there is still a lot of just really good stuff in there.
Cool.
So
yeah, I've seen 2 episodes of Babylon 5, and I should say 1.5 at random times, and they were both the same episode, which is why I didn't finish it the second time, because I'd already seen it. As I was just like flipping around, Babylon 5's on TV, and it was just starting. I'm like, I've heard people say this is good, so I'll watch this episode. So I watched it through. I'm like, that's okay. I'll check it out again another time. And like a month later, flipping around, oh look, Babylon 5's coming on. Then after the little opening, there's little space robots fixing a ship. This looks just like the other episode I saw. Oh, this is the other episode I saw.
That's funny. Like I was hanging out a lot with Guy and other friends who really love Babylon 5, and I'd catch episodes here and there. But I remember one time it's like they did a season close. It was like, oh, the one guy fell down the hole. We're all worried. I'm like, you watch this a lot more than I do. And I remember seeing an episode like a season or 2 ago where that guy came back from the future, and it was like a big reveal. And
which means unless
so
if
he's
they're
not dead.
If they have alternate timelines, then he might be dead, but probably not.
As I recall, though, the problem, or that wasn't the threat, wasn't him dying. It was what he was going to do next. That was the best part about Babylon 5, was that they kind of took and subverted your expectations. You knew the character was going to make it, but you didn't know how it was going to end up. The situation was going to end up, which is something I'm actually kind of looking forward to with Strange New Worlds. Because we have a situation in Strange New Worlds, and legitimately, I can't say that this is a spoiler, because it technically is a spoiler, but it was a
You monster.
So we'll say spoilers anyway.
We'll say spoilers, but if you did not actually watch the original Star Trek series in 1966 and 67, I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah.
But
too soon,
right? But we've got this situation where, in this instance, Pike, the character that's going to be the captain, he knows his fate. We know his fate because it was told to us in Menagerie episode 1 and 2, Menagerie episode, or part 1 and 2, which was like only, I think it's 16 episodes into the original series. So we already know what Pike's fate is. And he now knows, because of an event that occurred in Discovery, he knows what his fate is too. And I find that to be fascinating.
So the new show's
I'm
Discovery.
curious how they're going to.
The new show's Discovery, Lower Decks, and all those. Those are not in the Kelvin timeline, are they?
No, none of them are in the Kelvin timeline.
Because if they were in the Kelvin timeline, then that would leave it open, because we don't know for sure what happened to Pike in the non-Kelvin timeline.
No, he had an event in Discovery that showed him his future, which we all knew,
right?
Because we had seen the episode of the original series. We all knew that was his future, but then now he knows that's his future too. And he had a choice at that moment in Discovery to choose to save the universe, so to speak, but he would be committed to this future, or not save the universe and change his future so he wouldn't have that. And of course, being a good starship captain, he actually literally said that. He said, "We're Starfleet. This is our jobs."
Well, he kind of has to live in the universe. It's got everybody dies, or everyone lives and their life sucks.
Yeah, I become a weird burn victim, and everyone else is cool, or I face annihilation with everything else.
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily everyone dies, but it definitely was bad things are going to happen.
Everyone has to eat the tuna for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about all these different Star Trek timelines. I'm not that big a fan of Star Trek.
There's not a lot.
So it's not as
as
complicated as everybody keeps coming up with. I mean, it's complicated. There's 830 episodes of Star Trek. I mean, legitimately, things are complicated. It's really hard to hold canon together, and it's hard to not make mistakes. Although it is funny, they are pivoting, I think, a lot more of the people who are like me, who have the encyclopedic knowledge, because they were ADDers or Spectrum-y in some way, and so they hyper-focused on it. Because I'm noticing, especially Picard season 2, they are making all kinds of wild references, and Lower Decks is insane. I mean, I had to watch episodes of Lower Decks 3 or 4 times to catch all of the references that they're making to other episodes, to everywhere in the 800 episode canon of Star Trek. And they were going all over the place. They were deep cutting all over the place, and it was great.
Cool.
I was enjoying it. And the best part was they weren't doing a bad job of making it entertaining for my wife, who does not have an encyclopedic knowledge of all 800 episodes.
I dig it when shows do that. To come back to Castlevania, there's a part in season 2 where they go and they find the heroes go find the old Belmont stronghold, and they go into like the library and everything, which I love, because it also, I love Earth Dawn music.
I love the library.
But it's like they're part of the library. There's all these books and scrolls and magic items and stuff, and there's also all these exhibits. And when you look at the exhibits, they're numbered, and each exhibit number matches the bestiary entry on the Bestiary and Symphony of the Night.
Wow. That's deep. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like for the people who are super fans of something, that's
pretty serious.
That's super cool. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig that. I dig that.
Speaking of super fans, I'm super fan of our sponsors.
Sponsors.
Yeah, buddy.
You want to click the sponsor button? You want to click it? You want me to click?
You do it because I'm not at the buttons.
Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your mom. All right.
You started to go into the Matrix there for a moment, but you pulled back out there. You did that little.
Yeah, actually, now I have the alert that my connection is unstable.
We each have to have our turn.
Yeah, we have to have our turn where I freeze. It's not good unless we all freeze up and lock up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, so.
Yeah, the giant Spock and Lower Decks. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man. Because that's an Infinite Vulcan reference. And I'm like, woo, that's an animated episode.
They've done a couple of those animated references.
Yeah, well, that was a big one though, because it sort of explained what happened to our Infinite Vulcan. So that was kind of a cool. And actually, if you go into Memory Alpha now, there's Spock and the alternate Spocks and all the different Spocks and yada yada yada. And when you click on him, that version of him, it now says that that's his fate. He ends up, that's like canonical now. His fate is he ends up being a trophy, effectively.
Pre-streaming services, we did binge. At least I did, because
You watch all the DVDs.
Getting DVDs of shows that you miss. Like not the first season of Twin Peaks, because Alex and I are Twin Peaks fans. Alex more so than me. But I remember first season because I was brought into it by my brother. We watched that together on the scheduling. Each episode each week, you'd be at the location at the right time, and you watch it with friends.
Right.
But then he recorded on VHS season 2 because the scheduling wasn't working out. And then we would just watch 3 or 4 episodes on the weekend at everyone's convenience. And then, of course, Ranma 1/2, the vast majority of that, because it didn't show on television over here.
It was never, yeah.
And pretty much probably all the anime you've seen back before streaming was all done like that. Woo!
I'm presuming that is Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
You can keep talking.
Did it come wrapped? Did the first one come wrapped in plastic?
Of course they did.
Okay, good. So yeah, the binging's not a new thing to streaming necessarily. And then, of course, there are movie marathons at some theaters where they would show back-to-back movies of episode 1, 2, and 3. Are there some of those the same series, just different collections?
Yes,
that's because I was like,
they have different special features.
Okay, I was gonna say that's too many. Too many have gone by. There's not been that many seasons.
You are correct.
These are the reasons why we start to worry a little bit about
DVD,
it.
Like we totally would binge like on DVD. We binged Rome. We binged Deadwood. We binged Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Venture Brothers.
Yeah, we do. We watched Adventure Brothers so many times. Adventure Brothers is so good. So good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine binging's a good thing for the people making the products, because they're selling it in bulk, so they want it to better suit being sold in bulk, which means by having it connect instead of just doing a bunch of anthologies.
No, I figure that they just sort of like they put it out there and people will engage with it how they want to.
Yeah, I think especially when we're talking about things like box sets and stuff like that of DVDs, they're at that point in time they've made their money, and so they're just releasing it for extra money. So they don't care at that point. the dynamic changes when we start dealing with streaming, where it's a first run thing, like where we are now with Star Trek, Star Wars, all of those things. They're getting a lot more out of it by putting us on the streaming service. But I also think that they don't need as many viewers now. You know, before they needed 1,000 viewers to gain $1, let's say. You know what I mean? Because they needed to, because there came a point of attrition where you needed to say, well, as an advertiser, Alex, I'm going to let you advertise your widget on my show. I have 1,000 people, and you would say, I will pay you $1 for that. You know.
Yeah, that's speaking of Twin Peaks, and geez, more Twin Peaks stuff. I have more than that. Anyway, so talking about Twin Peaks is like the second season saw a decline in their ratings, their Nielsen numbers, and I was like reading some stuff on it, and it's like even at their low point nowadays, Twin Peaks would still be like amazing numbers. Because because it has changed, that you don't need to have as much of an audience, and so that's why you get things that are niche but still need to be kind of get some audience.
The biggest problem we had was we had a shift in things when the VCR was invented, and it's interesting because of how long it took for that change to occur. But as soon as the VCR was invented, it was very hard for the Nielsen's to track the numbers because you would record your TV show and watch it later. So nobody knew whether you were watching it or not because it wouldn't show up on the Nielsen box. And so that was a big issue for a long time. Then they ran the Nielsen boxes through your VCRs, but then you didn't have any way of telling what show it was because the Nielsen boxes, the way they worked was when they checked what channel you were on and what time you were on. So they would know that you were on NBC at 7 o'clock. Whatever show was on NBC at 7 o'clock then got your number. And so there was no way to track with a VCR the way that worked because you'd watch it 5 hours later and you were watching VCR at midnight. That doesn't tell you anything about what it is. So for a long time, there was a lot of problems with that. And so they finally, what they started doing was encoding a code on the show that would be picked up by the Nielsen box. But that had to come around in the 90s-ish, give or take. And so that was what kind of moved into that point. The same kind of technology, by the way, that we now use in our radios in our cars that allow us to see what the song is. And it's the same technology. So that kind of shifted everything then, but then people started just, you know, they wouldn't encode. First of all, the companies didn't want to encode Nielsen codes on their DVDs and their VCRs or VHSs, so they wouldn't. It didn't matter because VHS couldn't handle that. That code didn't work on VHS, so you couldn't do it on VHS. So anybody who bought a tape of a show wouldn't be able to encode. They could encode it on DVD, but Japan put up a fight about it, so you could only encode it on DVDs that came from America in the region coding. And it was just such a bizarre combination of things. So in the end, we just ended up losing it all. And so, which was fine. And now Nielsen just asks you, what are you watching?
And Brent says, major shift when broadband internet came about. Yeah, that's true. I mean, like we're old timers. You remember, like, I gotta spend a minute and a half trying to download a JPEG of the space shuttle.
I did that.
I know,
literally that.
We all did that. It's like,
what?
But it's.
I thought you guys wouldn't have downloaded space shuttle pictures. That's weird.
But yeah, no. So definitely being able to have a broadband internet of any stripe was a boon.
Yeah, agreed. Very different world the broadband brought us. It was a broad world. It was a broad world full of bands.
Yeah, I'm actually showing Twin Peaks to some friends of ours these days. We get together once a week, and we watch 2 episodes. And then we actually wound up not to get spoilerish, they reveal the killer, like the first third or so of season 2. They're still doing the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer, and it culminates and ends in that first third. So we had watched, the way that it turned out was that we had and of course, like the pilot and the season 2 opener are double length anyway. So we'd gotten to the point where it's like, okay, 8:00, they come over, we're watching episode, the killer's revealed, and it's a heavy episode. And then we stop it, and we're kind of sitting there, and I'm like, okay, well, you can be home by midnight if we watch the next 2 episodes where they keep searching for the killer and then they catch the killer. And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so we binged 4 episodes in one night because of that special thing, because it's a heavy episode. It's got a lot of Twin Peaks it's astounding that it was on television when it was.
Yeah.
And
that it didn't get canceled sooner because of how far ahead it was in time.
And the topics that they cover, especially the Laura Palmer mystery.
My brother ran a live action role playing game set where it was in the in between time, and without giving away any names of stuff, it's all the players are looking into the disappearance of one of the characters, no names mentioned, and they have to find a way to get to the Black Lodge. Live action role playing.
Man, I would love to do that, but I mean, my problem with LARPing is the same problem. I mean, the in that kind of thing, is the same problem I have with like doing escape rooms or haunted houses, is that something flips in my mind and like, this is real. And so like, I don't go to haunted houses because I fucking fight people.
Yeah, you would have punched Bob in the face.
Yeah, I've punched people at haunted houses when people are like, let's go to the haunted house. Like the last time I did this, I broke something. Something like, I just went, I like smash. And it was like, it wasn't even a real haunted house. It was like, oh, it's a goth industrial club. Come to the haunted house. I'm like, no, I'll pay you extra money to let me in the front door. No. So some skeleton flew out. I broke it. I'm like, I told you. Just leave me alone. Walk through.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it's like I don't do escape rooms because I know how much work those are to make.
Right.
Like, I have friends who do that. I'm like, I'm not going to break somebody's hard work.
Now he had found really hard at this. He found a really good body double for Laura Palmer.
Holy crap!
And he found an excellent body double with the facial hair and the hair for Bob.
Oh, wow.
He had set up this cool scene where Laura Palmer in her lingerie is dancing in the Red Room. And the way we had to get there was through this ritual. So we couldn't have any of our weapons with us because we weren't physically there.
Right.
And we're all sitting around, loud music blaring. She's doing the dance. Spidey sense tingles. I turn around and I see Bob coming through, and he freaks out because I'm the only one out of like 3 groups that came through the room who caught him. Up until that point, he had come out and like danced around people without them noticing, and then you get the jump scare because the person will turn, and all of a sudden there's that, and guy would have had a heart attack.
Yep, I would have been out of there. I'm so over that. I'm like,
it was excellent. He had the whole table with the donuts and the coffee, and but
no, like even benign things like when I did the Star Trek experience in Vegas.
Oh yes, I love that.
And the first chunk of that is like you're waiting in line for the experience, and they have all this memorabilia around. It's like cool, and you get into the elevator, go to the next floor, and then like the lights go out, all this wind starts blowing, it feels like you're falling, and you wake up on a transporter pad in TNG.
It's an amazing effect.
And I was like, holy shit. And like you walk out into the thing, like that thrum you hear on the show, you feel that thrum in your feet.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you didn't get to be that guy.
I know, I'm so sad about that.
And I'm like, I'm not crazy enough to believe that this has actually happened, but it's close.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, dang.
If you were someone from the boonies who doesn't watch television and never heard of Star Trek, this thing would convince you've just been abducted by aliens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it like 5 or 6 times just to do it again.
Yeah, and like and they have a few different storylines they do. So I don't know when, I didn't know when they switched them, every week or every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. But like I was like, wow. Like some
Aw.
Klingon is yelling at us from the main screen, and I look
Yeah.
down at like the little console I'm sitting next to, like this picture dossier campaigns are coming up. I'm like, damn.
Yep. I had a couple of friends. One of them played a Klingon there because they had the people in costume, and
Oh
he
yeah, huh?
had a Quark's bar and stuff.
Totally.
So actually, I'm sorry. I don't think my friend who did the Ferengi, Chris, I don't think was out in Vegas, or he might have been like once for the opening, but they had him positioned in another state.
Mhm.
This all originated for their path on that originated in Ohio at a place called Kings Island, which is a big theme park. But all three of us, there's actually four of us. We're in an improv group, and we all went up there and auditioned to be characters. And I didn't. I'm the one who didn't make it. And after they
Oh,
made it in, they got the inside scoop, and what they recycle their costumes. And if you're not the right size for one of the pre-made costumes, you don't make it in. So I wasn't heavyweight then. I wasn't in good shape back then, but I was too tall to be a Ferengi, too short and not big, broad enough on the shoulders to be a Klingon. And they weren't doing Federation folks, like just regular, because nobody
Right.
wants to see a normal
Nobody wants to see just
human.
a normal dude.
Which made me feel better. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't suck at my audition, or if I did suck, and then that's not the only reason I didn't get it.
Right.
But yeah, they need to do more stuff like that, because that was really cool, and that might exist out there.
Maybe.
6 minutes.
And 6 minutes left.
But this is kind of like, this can bring us to like NDK, because like the experience is NDK as a convention, and anime conventions realizing everything that we used to offer as a convention is kind of on the out, because you no longer need a convention as your source for getting anime.
Right.
You no longer need a convention as your source to hang out and play games with your friends, because you can do that now. What are some of the other things that
videos. I mean, like
videos, yeah.
You don't have to watch the videos anymore, because you can just get those, anywhere
from the streaming services.
Yeah, streaming services. I mean, why watch the videos if you can just get them from,
unless it's some kind of like exclusive,
Crunchyroll.
Right. So it's got a
studio wants to show and wants to premiere it at your show. Okay, sweet. That's
if you get those. So getting more of those is important. Having more things that you just can't do on your own, I think is. So I think it's wise as a convention.
That's why I've been doing what I call the Disneyland thought process, which is we should turn NDK into more of an experience. You're there to see what's going on and stuff like that. So agreed. So there's that.
So yeah, so you just need to convince them to create a whole illusion of being teleported onto the Enterprise. And
exactly.
I'm sure it's cheap enough to do.
Anybody can do it. Anybody. It's just simple. Everybody can do it.
Get those Bruce Wayne bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Wayne.
Well, we got
those totally.
So we just have to make it anime though. So you have to go to El Hazard.
Right.
Any of the animes where you take the person from modern day and transport them into some other
or
place.
get them on the Bebop.
Yeah.
Right.
People are like, this sucks. It's cold and greasy. Yup.
Yep. Welcome to the Bebop.
And then you have to have the anime Bebop and the live action Bebop, so then people can complain about the differences.
I didn't think they were that different.
I'm going to go on there. There are several differences. Having watched the entirety of live action Bebop and being a really big fan of the original, I have to say that I like the live action more.
Oh wow!
The only real problem it has is that the action isn't as good, and there's a few reasons for that. But the characterization is good. They really lean into film noir. Which I really like. They switch some stuff like where when in the anime where Faye is like, oh, she joins the cult, like the cult outreach is actually to Spike, which makes a bit more sense with what they do with it. Mm-hmm. They add some more stuff with honestly, and I don't like doing this. The first episode is the weakest.
Yeah.
Lauren and I watched the first episode. We're like kind of like, I guess we'll try another one, and they get stronger.
That's exactly how
Um,
Tara and I were. We watched the first
yeah.
episode, and she's like, "I don't know if I want to watch another." But let's
Yeah,
go ahead and do it anyway.
but I hate being I hate hearing from people, guy, like we gave the show a shot, we
Yeah.
didn't like it. Oh, you need to watch another 18 hours of it. Like,
Right. First season's not that good, but you got to watch it to understand the second season.
yeah.
When did I ever say that? Good heavens.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes. We're like, we're done with this. And you said, no, around episode 18 or 19 is when they tie into. And I'm like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah, I didn't say no, but I can see that.
Yeah. And so, no, I honestly, the first episode is the weakest. It gets better from there, and some really cool things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it seems like there won't be a season 2 because too many people complained about it, I guess.
Yep.
But,
oh no, anti-fans complained about something. Who could have guessed?
But who knows? Maybe they'll bounce back. Yeah, I
Maybe.
don't remember the season numbers, but the first spinoff from The Walking Dead was Fear the Walking Dead, and I stuck with it because it's fun, even though it has horrible things like plot writing and bad character stuff. Every now, but I watch for the stuff I like. Quite a ways in, I want to say maybe season 4. I don't even remember. I just remember it's far enough in where I'm like, wow, this was a huge shift in the show, and I would actually recommend this. And there's enough going on that I could honestly say, go ahead and skip these first seasons and just come in here. There might be a few things you won't pick up on because there'll be some relationships they refer to that you haven't been following. But they bring in this guy who's he was a trick shot specialist cowboy actor guy. So he's a real cowboy because he can really shoot guns well. It's a skill he has. He trick shots at like the ghost towns where you have the visitors. So he's like this amazing shot. But he's also like a paladin because he has like this unflappable code of honor, and he's like the first character they had introduced who was like, you can't corrupt me, no matter what you do. And he was such a cool character, and it was about the time that they took a character from The Walking Dead because they knew that the show was not doing so great, and had that character come over. Like it's like I have to go on a journey, and he journeys over to the other series.
Yeah, we tried to watch Walking Dead. We watched like 1 or 2 episodes. Like, we don't like these people. They yell a lot.
Carl!
Yeah, it's like, stop yelling.
They're going to hear you.
Yeah, it's like, the zombies can hear, right? Oh, look, zombies showed up. What a surprise.
Yeah, I had they did the same thing in the comic that they did on the show that really bugged me. They find some SWAT team armor, which like greatly increases their survival ability. And then without any explanation, after like a couple of encounters, like, oh, we're not going to wear the armor anymore. It's like, why? At least have bandits steal it from them. Have a reason instead of
just disappear.
The GM just going, I gave you guys too powerful of an item. I'm just gonna you just stop wearing it.
Wow.
But yeah. But anyway, since we're talking about seasons and skipping stuff, that's why I wrote into there. So this was we weren't too far all over the place. We kept it related to media.
Yeah, well, and that, hey, nice of us. Good job, us. Look at us going.
Well, cool. So, I have nothing else to add for the wrap up on this.
Well, we're at 11:02.
You're like, that's it. I'm done.
Call it.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much, I guess, all we have for today. We'll see you next week. Until then, I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is
Geek. I'm not ready. And this
is Good Thing.